Now it's time for Mark and Pete.
Hello, and welcome to the show. More colourful conversations with Mark and Pete. This is the programme dedicated to religion, politics, and business. On this week's show, we're going to ask a question. What is it like to be God? Well, it's a question that often we do ask ourselves. I mean, we think ourselves as being mere mortals, and yet, through history, there have been many leaders who perhaps have gone beyond the realm of mankind and actually believed that they were genuinely God. They could do anything. Well, I've got with me today clergyman Pete. So, Pete, what do you think it's like to be God?
Well, the very nature of God is so different to humans. It's a difficult concept to get around. But if you just think about certain aspects of him and what he's like, the first thing you can say is that he's not sexual. So therefore, calling him is a bit of an anachronism. Well, why am I calling him him? So the first thing to say is that relationships are very different. There'll be no sexual relationships, being God. The second thing is to say, well, having complete and absolute knowledge of everything would be like being a one-man internet.
Yes.
And then like Wikipedia, only knowing more stuff. I mean, trying to get your head around that's just mind-blowing in a very real sense. And also being all-powerful.
Yes.
So being not only knowing all stuff, being able to do it. Yes. But I think that what would happen is with the internet, I think I'd just freeze, being completely inactive, unable to actually do anything.
Well, it's an interesting concept because when we try and put ourselves in that position, we seem to go way beyond our normal limits. I mean, as you say, we all have capabilities. And if we did have more knowledge, what would that mean? So I'm just going to set up my thoughts with a little poem called Being God, a philosophical thought. If you could pause the world and examine all that is bad, it would be revealing to know those who are evil and mad. If you could rewind the world and turn all bad into good, it would be interesting to know just where you stood. So the idea being is that if you could do anything in the world, what would that mean is if you change things, if you change the course of events, what would that mean to you, for example?
I'd be tempted to try and change things to work out, to give a happy ending. You know, when I watch a movie, I like it to be a happy ending. If being all powerful, I could step in and sort out problems, get a particular sports team to win just once in their miserable lives. Thinking of Leeds United and thinking of a country that always loses in the Eurovision Song Contest, just getting them to win and not getting all Britain these days. Yeah. But I suppose on a more serious level, making sure there were enough crops for people in Ethiopia to munch on and things like that. These problems that we keep seeing, they keep going on in the news, I want them to be sorted out and give some happy endings.
Well, that's true. Although I think if I were God, I would certainly want to address a number of things that are quite annoying. I must admit that I break in internet, for example. I mean, we have problems often on this show where sometimes we get crackling and interference. I mean, I would eliminate that straight away.
Yes. I think that what we need to do is get a better technical team on it.
Well, exactly, yes. I
comments from
lots of unusual production effects being added to what we're saying. But the other thing is there are many things in life which are just so annoying. I mean, push buggies, as I've mentioned many a time to you personally, they just get in the way, don't they, when you're in the shopping precinct?
Not for the babies in them.
Well, that's
then they're
true,
quite convenient.
I don't blame the babies. It's the mothers and the fathers. It just seem to sort of think they're on a Formula One track. I mean, surely, God, why did you invent a buggy like that?
Yes, but you being God would be able to say, well,
Well, exactly.
I'm going to
remove
disinvent
all
it.
the wheels.
Okay. Right. First act as God.
First,
all
that is
the
good.
wheels
And
of
the other
buggies
one,
go.
which is very annoying. And again, you can see where I'm coming from here. What we're trying to focus on is making the world a better place. For
Yes.
example, I mean, you'd go back in time and remove Kylie Minogue, wouldn't you? I mean, the sounds that pour out of the radio and of your CD player. I mean, those are the sort of things that have wrangled with your mind and your ears. Things
Yes.
that really have not really had as much entertainment, in my opinion.
Well, do you know, I'm really pleased, Mark, that you've upped the level of this debate and
Yeah.
brought it to a serious level, because though I was talking about the starving millions in Africa,
Exactly.
and you brought it down to pop singing. I mean,
well,
it's important to get
there is
perspective.
because let's be honest. I mean, with the good work that has been done by Band Aid, I mean, there is a good thing. I mean, that I would do. In fact, if I was God, I would insist that became almost a daily event. I mean, to be honest, there is no reason why we shouldn't be more charitable in our everyday lives. So there is good on that side. But you mentioned about other things, about making your favourite team win every time. In many ways, though, whilst you might find that quite entertaining in the short term, in the long term, actually, really, you're fixing things, aren't you? So you've got to know where to play fair.
Well, I mean, to be honest, you see, when I picked on something like the crops in Ethiopia or in other areas, quite often we're talking about areas in Africa that are war-torn. And
Yes.
the reason is man-made. The reason for the problems of the crops failing is, in the end, man-made. It's because of warfare constantly coming back. There's a bit of peace, there's warfare. It's man-made misery. And so even in saying, as God I would do this, the problem is actually the hearts and minds of men. Humans are the problem, not God not putting it right. So it'd be interesting to be in the position of God, because I think that there would be a big problem with being God. Because I mentioned at the head of the show about being all-knowing and then all-powerful. And that's true. God is like that. So to be God, that you would have those attributes. But you would also be all-loving. And in being all-loving, you want what's best for the other people.
Mm.
And if you want what's best for people and see them constantly causing harm, humanity causing harm to itself, on a path to self-destruction again and again, it would be heartbreaking. I think being God would be such an emotionally difficult job that you'd have to have the spiritual resources of this almighty being to cope with the heartache that's coming your way of people letting you down, not just letting you down, but letting themselves down and each other down time and time again. No matter how many times you try and help them, you put things right, they're going to do things that are selfish and aggressive and bullying, and they're going to ruin it all again.
Yes.
That's what it must feel like to be God.
But also, the other thing is that I think looking at this, that it actually, you've got to allow events to play out, because God, with all the abilities that God has to allow people to do what they do and to learn. So part of life is also to learn from your mistakes. So on the one hand, you'd want to eliminate mistakes, but you need to allow people to learn. And so part of God's role is also to judge. So isn't that also another part of the aspect? So if you were God, you couldn't just simply stop every event from being wrong, surely?
No, you can't. I can't see how, without radically changing the nature of everything, and so destroying humans and human society, without changing the whole nature of reality, you can't stop all evil being done. To say that God is all-powerful is not to say that he can do anything. That can't be true, because, taken to its extreme, God cannot make a square circle. He can't make something that's logically not possible. And he can't make someone who's meant to have free will do something because his will, God's will, or if I'm being God, my will, is imposed upon him. Not just simply forcing him or coercing him, but imposed upon him in the same way as you rewrite the coding for a robot. If you're doing that, which God is presumably able to do physically, he's able to do it, he can't do it because then he's stopped the person being a person. They no longer have the abilities to make decisions, so they're no longer the human that you were talking about in the first place. So God can't do anything. So when I'm in the position of being God, yes, I have tremendously greater abilities, wonderful. I have tremendous emotional baggage that goes with that because of all the letdowns that come from loving people who let you down. And then you're not able to change anything because in doing so you would harm the very people who you love. So I'd end up putting myself in such a difficult position that it'd be far worse than being who I am.
No, indeed. But taking this point about what is it like to be God, it must be quite disconcerting because there are a lot of people in the world who don't believe in you. They don't even think that you exist. So what do you do?
Yes, that would be very odd. If just taking just that aspect of God,
yes,
and saying, what would that be like? You walk down the road and you see a policeman walking down the street. You say, good morning. He completely ignores you.
Well, exactly.
You walk into the shop. You want to buy something. You say, excuse me, I'd like to buy 3 rubber bands and a pencil, please. Those ones there. A sort of regular purchase of mine.
Yes.
And you walk in, you say that, and they completely ignore you. You stand in front, you wave to them, and eventually, when you get them to look at you, get their attention, you say, "Can I buy those?" No, I'm sorry, I don't believe in you.
Well, exactly.
I don't believe you exist. No, I've got all the money you could possibly want. No. Oh, I suppose if you talk about God being God and God having that problem. You could be saying, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the solution to this problem. Yeah. I have it here for you. I've got all these resources. Here's £1 million to buy the new orphanage. You say, I'm sorry, I don't believe in you.
Well, exactly.
What?
It'd be very difficult to get life insurance, for example. I'm God and I wish to apply for life insurance.
Life insurance would be difficult.
Yes.
You'd think. If they don't believe in you. But on the other hand, you'd get very good premiums because you're never going to die.
Precisely, yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, it is interesting, though, that most people, I think, would initially turn to the idea that they would probably, as you say, solve famine, reduce or eliminate crime. But I think that really what you'd actually do is you would want to try and readdress where we come back to those core values, the 10 Commandments, installing back to what we believe, and we've talked about quite a lot on the Mark and Pete show, which is going back to this point of faith, which is how do people bring faith back into their lives? Now, this is not something that is easy, especially for those who don't believe you exist. But of course, there are ways of proving that you exist through the power of miracles, and that's something that again that we've talked about. So, what technique would you employ to get people, one, to believe you, and to readdress a lot of the issues that are happening in society today?
Well, what technique would I use? Well, I think that I would try and use the technique used by the current incumbent in the post of God. He did a very interesting thing. He just decided that people were not believing him, people were ignoring him, and people who did believe in him were misinterpreting him. So what he did is he became a human. He came in human form and actually was one of the people. And we know historically that was the person known today as Jesus Christ. And in doing so, he was able to cut through that barrier. And now a conservative estimate would say there's 1.3 billion people believing in God because, Jesus Christ made him known. So that's the technique that I would apply. I would use that technique of becoming a human. I know I'm already a human, but you get the idea. I'd use it, become one of the people to show them who I was. But the problem is, that ended up being rather a traumatic experience for God in that situation. So, having said that I would do that, actually, I don't know that I'd want to. I don't know that I love people, as I am now. I don't know that I love people enough to go through what Jesus went through in order to get through to them and to rescue them. And the other thing that I would say is, because of that, when I think about, I don't know that I would care enough. Why is it that God, the current incumbent God, why is it that he cares for us? The Bible points this out several times, that God is so much greater, more intelligent, more powerful, greater in every way than humans. It's remarkable that he even considers humans. There's Psalm 8. I'll just read a bit from verse 3 of that psalm. The psalmist is saying, "When I consider your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars which you have ordained, what is man that you take thought of him, and the son of man that you care for him? Yet you have made him a little lower than God." So God cares for humans really much, even though he really doesn't have to. And It's difficult to see why he should. So I think if I were God, I'm coming to the realization as we discuss this, if I were God, I don't think I'd do a very good job.
Well, that's a good point to end on. So listeners, what do you think about this idea of being God? Would that be something that you would be comfortable with? Do you think you could even do a better job, maybe? Well, why not drop us a line? Fill out the form on www.markandpete.com and let us know what your thoughts are. What is it like to be God? What would you do? So join us again next time for more colourful conversations with Mark and Pete.